the PROXY from Axiom Discs. Seems to be Simon Lizotte's favorite throwing putter right now. I have just a regular Neutron PROXY because they're just sold out everywhere. And this is all I could find that was really premium plastic that wasn't glow, because I really like the feel of this. And I actually also bought a new Opto Pure. If you guys don't know, this is basically my favorite throwing putter. And the Opto ones tend to be a little bit more stable. And I wanted to get a new one so it's apples to apples comparison, because I have one that's pretty beat in that I throw all over the place. I gave Kevin Kiefer some Pures because he had lost one. And he was like, oh yeah, I'll figure these out. And then when we see you at the preserve next week, I'll give you back the ones that I don't need. And then I never got any of them back. So Kevin, if you're watching this, I hope you feel bad, but I don't care that much. If you guys have watched the channel before, you know that I throw Pures and I putt with Pures. And honestly, I think this is probably the best throwing putter ever made. If there's anything to rival it, it might be this. I'm talking more on like the straight to slightly understable side. This first hole is gonna be 295 feet, slightly downhill. We are going straight into a headwind now. And so you'll be able to see a lot of like how these guys fare. Nice flip, sit down, sit down. Ooh, I thought it flipped more in the headwind. It's good and stable. Better, much better width. That might be on the chips and also might be long. Real quick question, why the PROXY over the Envy?
I don't know, I couldn't tell you. I wanted to love the Envy so badly. And the Envy was actually also another big reason why I made the switch before I actually knew all the plastic that well.
Wait, why is that? Some interesting data here. The PROXY is parked, and surprisingly, I'd never thrown a PROXY before today. The Pure is farther though, so stay up. Oh. And the PROXY has the early lead through one hole. Hole 2 is 220 feet up the hill. And again, we have the same kind of headwind left to right, which you'd think with a more understable throwing putter, it's gonna make it a little harder to throw. But I have a couple tips about like throwing these type of discs. One, obviously just more hyzer, but that's an easy tip. The biggest key to that is a lot of times if you still get swoopy with your hyzers, where you kind of open up and you swoop up instead of focusing on, hey, let me go through my hit point on a hyzer, head down before you follow through. If you're swoopy, the wind will really take it. And so really focusing on a hit point I found is really helpful. And then also really focusing on spinning the disc out of your hand instead of focusing on giving it speed, I've also found really helps in the wind for me, because if there's more spin, it's gonna be able to like not roll over as easy. I'll tell you what, the feel of this is like so similar to the Pure. It's like almost the same disc, I would say. The Pure is a little, yeah, I mean, it's almost not even worth showing you guys a comparison of this. I probably will the next hole, but like this is a little faster looking. This looks a little blunter, which might actually be really nice, but disregard everything I say about throwing a Frisbee because I can't throw it off of the one tree in the fairway. First one was much more about aiming than anything. Drop, drop. All right, I remember how to throw that second time. Thank goodness. Oh, I got caught up in the wind real fast. Really wish I can control the weather sometimes because it just gets bad out. It's just not as fun. Wow. Okay, well then. Anyway, been on a tear with the putts recently. All right, I am absolutely needing some redemption on our third hole here. It's like 270-ish feet, I believe. A little turnover. The wind is at our back, so we're gonna need to put these on some anhyzer, get them around this Mando, and hopefully park this hole. PROXY somehow still has the box because I cannot figure out how to make a 15-foot putt. Ooh, baby, that was nice. It holds that turn really well. Didn't really want to fight out of it too much, so a little wider with the Pure, and I think it's even more parked. Oh, it's so low, dude. Apparently the theme is shank one of them every time. We'll be honest, this shot of like a turnover in a kind of ripping tailwind right now, not something I'm super comfortable with a putter, but no excuse, a little right to left now. Oh, I thought I made it. I could never be a one-hole review guy. Not good enough. Inside the circle though, so you'd be like, oh, that's a gimme. Oh my gosh, this is ripping. I don't even know why. It's so rude of Denver. Oh my gosh. Hey, I'll tell you what, we're keeping these close. They should be a lot more under par, but we're keeping it close. Here's kind of the side profile view I was talking about. You can see the Pure is just like slightly more bladed. Not super bladed, but a little bit more because this is pretty blunt. And from what I understand, the PROXY and the Envy have the same like core. This part in the middle that's green, they have like a core and then an overmold. And sometimes the overmold changes, sometimes the core changes, sometimes both. And that's why like the Proxy and the Envy in the glow plastic, they feel almost indistinguishable to me. I'm sure if I held them side by side, I can like tell you which was which. A lot of times they'll throw both of them, even though it's kind of surprising that like James Conrad only throws Envies and Simon only throws Proxies.
Everyone I talked to about this potential switch was like, dude, if you can throw the Envy, it's like the greatest throwing putter ever, and you and the Envy will match like freaking a match made in heaven, and it just didn't match.
All right, 295 down the hill. You can probably see in my shirt how much of a left to right wind there is right now. So we're kind of gonna throw them on hyzer, even a little left of the basket. Not super left, we're not like gonna throw them off the tee pad to the left on that trajectory, but we're gonna aim our hips and our body a little more left on the tee pad so that we're over that bush. Proxy sells the box. Kept it low and into the hill. It's gonna get beaten down. All right, Pierre, let's throw one good shot this video. Come on. Yeah. Hey, we did it. Hey, if you throw nose down into a left to right wind, it's not gonna do you very well. Proxy suck, dude. All right, at least we put the pure inside the circle. The reason that that shot worked, even though it looked like, oh my gosh, it's so much hyzer, and the reason that the first didn't work, I'll explain them both in the same situation, is both of them, I knew I needed to put on a lot of hyzer, because if it's gonna flip up at all and catch the wind, because it's a putter and it's a little like deep compared to like a driver, even if it's not really showing its flight plate, it's still gonna get moved more by the wind because there's more room for air to get underneath the disc. If it stays on hyzer the whole time, then the wind can't do that, and it'll just ride against it. Wind isn't gonna let the hyzer push to the left. It's also not gonna let it get pushed to the right. So if you just throw it on hyzer at the basket, it'll work. But the problem with this Proxy that I didn't have with the Pure is I threw it very low because I knew I needed to get it low to go down the hill and not sail the basket, but I threw it too low because the wind is gonna move over the flight plate too much as it's beating it down, which is why the Pure started getting beaten down, but it's still straight in line with the basket. Hopefully that explains a little bit of the wind on this. Oh, barely. All right, similar concept to the last hole. Now we're going back up the hill. The wind is pushing right to left. So if we throw a hyzer, it can get taken. But if we throw these on anhyzer at the basket, they won't push too far in the anhyzer. They'll get beaten down a little bit by the wind, but they'll also stay a little straighter. So we'll throw the Pure first. And that one got beat down, but it's still actually gonna be relatively fine. I'm having trouble with my angle control today. I can get it on hyzer or anhyzer. The amount is just like variable by 15 degrees every time. Yeah, that's so much better. And that's gonna get dropped by the wind perfectly. Okay, I can always throw one of these well, and I don't understand why I can't do it for both. I can't just like put it on the hyzer and try to have the wind sneak it in, or I can throw it at anhyzer at the basket and expect it to drop a little bit. Good concept, terrible execution. Sometimes when I shoot these videos, I'm just like, I should delete everything that I say and just leave in the things that I do. Because then you won't know what I'm trying to do. You'll still not think I'm good, but you might not think I'm as bad as I'm playing. We got a birdie with both of them one time today. We got 4 holes left, and so far the only difference that I've seen between these two is that you have the MPO most likable player in the world representing this one, and the FPO most likable player in the world representing this one, in Chris and Tatar. There might be an argument for Owen Scoggins, but they honestly fly almost identical. The Proxy might be slightly slower, which means it doesn't flip as fast, I think. And maybe it's just the plastic, but they both come in a lot of plastics. They both feel very similar. They both throw very similar. They both probably putt very well. And ultimately, like, I don't really think you can go wrong with either of these. I think these are typically slightly cheaper than these. 290 feet, it says. We got a left-right wind again, so we're gonna take the same tactic that we did before, except both throw them high enough to be good. Okay, 1 for 2 is close. Make it 2 for 2 or you're getting thrown in the trash. Oh, see? That was a little lower, but it got a little more movement and it's a little faster and it's not close. That thing's going in the trash, I don't know what to tell you. I talked about this in my Axiom Tempo review against the zones, but there's just something that is so nice about the Neutron plastic. And I don't know if it's just because, like, typically I do focus a little more on the disc that I'm reviewing, which is why it almost always wins, just because I feel like I take for granted the disc that I typically throw and I'm really focusing on how to throw the new one. But there is something about that Neutron plastic that is so good in that, like, putt and approach category. Oh my gosh, dude. You're trying to make a skip putt? What are you doing? What are you doing? Something about it. If you told me, like, oh, you can never throw Pures again, Proxies are going straight in my bag. I wish they would make like the Royal Line Pures. I would throw the crap out of that, but because I do like this plastic over anything that is in Trilogy's lineup right now. Mando, right of that, doesn't really come into play. It's only 260 feet, straight ahead. Now we got basically a tailwind, so you can throw these on highs or you can throw them flat. Proxy first. We can give them some ace runs, because that's electric. That's a great ace run. That's so good. Good shot though. That thing is just laser straight. Maybe it's because it feels slightly slower to me, just the shape of it. It doesn't have as much left or right movement as the Pure does. I don't know. The Pure also feels slightly deeper. Not a lot though. Stay up, stay up, stay up, stay up, stay up. Oh, doesn't matter. I think we finally had a hole where we threw them both well. Now this Proxy is the same color as the first Envy that I ever owned. A little fun fact to go one ear and out the other for you. 2 holes left and the Proxy has the box and a 2-hole lead. We have about 240 feet to the basket straight ahead of us. Wind is now deciding that it wants to be a little more chill. Very rude of it. It knows we're almost done with the review, that's probably why. We'll throw just some hyzers at it. There's one. 2-ish. Not quite. I'm gonna be honest, these are 2 of the best throwing putters ever made, especially in these plastics, because their numbers would say that they're very understable, and they'll flip, but they're not like gonna turn and burn on you unless you're throwing them into a headwind, really. Especially if you're not throwing them very hard, if you have a lower arm speed. These are just some incredible throwing putters. And honestly, I'm having a nitpick to find some differences between them. If anything, I honestly kind of am leaning towards the Proxy in terms of what I like more. That might just be the Simon Lizotte effect of, I'm a big fan of Simon, as is like 99% of the disc golf community. But I also have the nostalgia of the Pure literally being the first disc that I ever bought. It's been one of the discs that has had the longest tenure in my bag. Maybe the longest. Yeah, the longest. And I still, for some reason, am feeling the edge towards the Proxy. Maybe that's because I like new things, but there might be something to it. We're just gonna keep rolling with the Pure though. No need to switch it out, you know, it's still a really good disc. There's just something about this Proxy, man. Like genuinely, if I get the Pure Neutron plastic, game over. So is the Proxy the best throwing putter ever?
I have gotten many birdies with the Proxy on tour, so I'm loving it. I am loving it.
I'm glad we remembered how to play Frisbee a little. We got a little tailwind left to right. To make things slightly interesting, we're gonna throw these instead of just on the basic hyzer line. We're gonna throw some turnovers. There is an island, which is the size of the circle, I believe. So we gotta hit that. It's like 240 feet again. That might be out of the island. A little 2 nose up. Might be out of the island because it's a little too far. Not the best way to finish. So that happens when you call Mando Annie into a left-right wind. You challenge yourself and you fail. And it looks like, of course, the Proxy made the island and the Pure didn't. What do you know? Proxy's really good. Dang. I think the Proxy, if I was to choose anything, is it feels more like a 2.5 speed. It definitely doesn't seem as fast as the Pure, where maybe it's a 3 and that's a 3.5. But if there's anything that I'd have to choose to set them apart, I'd say the Proxy feels slightly slower. But that's like the most nitpicky thing ever, so. Kind of surprised. I thought that I would just like clean house with the Pure. Glad I got a backup. I might have to mess around with it over the off season to put one in my bag, because the Pure that I have in my bag, that's my Pure, my baby, for now. But I might mess around with the Proxy in the off season, just to see if that should make the bag instead, because it feels slightly more comfortable, and I think I like the flight slightly more. I don't get it, man. Discs are crazy. Disc golf is weird. If you want to check out another review, it's right there. I think you'll like it a lot. It's another putter review. There's a lot of them on the channel. If you want to subscribe, if you haven't, shout out Simon Lizotte. Hopefully I'll get to make a video with you someday. I kind of feel bad for the Pures, honestly. That's like my disc from day one. It's my day one, and now I feel like I cheated on it a little. Didn't, but it feels like I did. See you tomorrow.